Okay, so now's a good time to take a look at our um, layout in a web browser, and this is what we have so far. So the way that the images are placed, they're sitting by default, they sit on the baseline of the text that they're placed into, and they're bumped over to the left. If we want our text to wrap around these images and disengage from the baseline of the text and to align differently, so rather than aligning to the left, they could align to the right, we need to apply some selectors, some properties, CSS properties. And the way we do this is we are going to create some class selectors. So right now, if we look in our CSS Designer panel and we take a look at the selectors that we have, currently we have ID selectors. So the ID selector is identified by this little hashtag in front of it. An ID selector is something that applies style only to a single element of our layout. So the ones that we've created so far are for our div tags and styling of our div tags, things like background color, pixel dimensions. And what we're going to do is create some class selectors. And a class selector is something that can be applied to multiple elements on a page. So we create the style one time and we apply it to several items. All right, so let's go ahead and create a new selector. We're going to click the plus button in our selectors window, and let's type in the name of our selector. So we're going to float our images, our Ronnie image to the right. So we're going to call it float-right. Make sure that you have a period in front of it. That will identify it as a class selector. So we want even padding all the way around. And in order to do that, we can click this little link icon. Make sure that it looks like a chain link. We're going to put in 5 pixels of padding. And if the chain link icon is connected, then it will apply it to all sides equally. We only have to type it in once. We're going to choose float, so we're going to float right. All right, now that we have our properties, we're going to apply it to our image. So we want Ronnie to float to the right. Let's click on Ronnie and let's apply our class. So down in the properties window, we have a class. It says none currently. Let's click that drop down menu and choose float right. And now it bumps over to the right hand side of our page and the text wraps around it. All right, let's go ahead and make another selector, another class selector. So let's, rather than create one from scratch, we're going to go ahead and base it on our float right. So let's click on that, right click, choose duplicate. Let's rename this one float left. And in the properties, let's go ahead and choose float left. And this one we're going to apply to Ray the Werewolf. So let's find Ray the Werewolf, select him, go down to our properties window, choose float left for the class. All right, and the text will wrap around him. Okay, so to fix Ronnie, to give her a little bit of extra space between the edge of our layout, let's apply some padding. So let's go back to float right, and under padding, let's unlink, and in the right hand side, let's type 15, and you can see her moving over, and then let's try this clear both, and that should do it. So let's check our layout. in the browser, and she moved over a little bit. So there's more of a margin there. Okay, so let's go ahead and put some alternative text for our images. Let's choose Ray the Werewolf. And under Alt, let's type in Ray the Werewolf. For Ronnie, let's do the same thing. Click on her. Under Alt, type in Ronnie the Vampire. All right, now we're going to start working on our team page. So if we scroll down, we can see we have something called the team page, and we've got a little, almost like a little description of each one of these characters. So if we look at the tutorial, we could see what it's supposed to look like. This is what we need to do. We need to get an image of all of our characters into our page. We want to have a border around the image and the associated text. We want to have a header style for the names and then a body style for the descriptions. So let's, what we want to do is delete this little colon also. So let's highlight the space in the colon, press delete, and then hit return to make a new paragraph. Let's place our cursor in front of the name Ray and go to the property inspector and apply heading 3 to format it. Okay, so make sure that your cursor is right before the R in your Ray header. Go to Files, Images, and then find the Ray named.png and drag that over to insert that right before Ray. Let's select all the text in all of Ray's text and the header and the image so that all of these are selected all at the same time. Let's go to Insert, choose Div. All right, click the New CSS Rule button. All right, let's name this characters, so make sure that this is still set to class, and let's hit type dot characters, so dot meaning a period, and click OK. All right, now let's set some parameters or some rules for this class. Let's choose the box category and set clear to both, set float to left, and click OK. And let's click OK again. All right, so now we have a new div with our text and our image inside. And this div is a class rather than an ID. So that means that we can apply this to all of our other character descriptions. Okay, so now we're going to float our image inside of this div container. So let's select the image. Let's go to CSS Designer, click plus in the selectors panel, and we're going to name this characters space img. So we're going to delete the h3. Let's go to the layout category of our properties, and let's choose float left and clear both. All right, so we want to add a we want to continue working on this team page, and we want to continue styling it, but we need to do a few things first. Ronnie is this Ronnie the Vampire image is kind of in the wrong spot, so let's move her up. And let's move Ray up as well. All right, let's see, Ronnie is supposed to go right there. So Ronnie, we're having some trouble with Ronnie. That's about right. So what I did was I dragged this, and as I drag it around, you can see that the cursor is going, is following the cursor is inserting in between the characters that would indicate where this should be located. So if I drag this so that the cursor is right at the end of this header, then she goes into the right spot. So let me just do this again. So if I was to put it where it originally told us to, which is right after the last word and the last bullet point, and I let go, she's going down into our team page. So that's not working out too well. What's happening is it's bumping our text below here, and it's causing some problems. So let's move Ronnie here. And then Ray, same thing. Ray, when I had Ray in the position that the tutorial told us, it's kind of bumping into here, and we want it to be positioned right in front of this W. And that is about the way that it should be. So now Ray is the first item, and that's what we want. So Ronnie's next, and now everything falls into order. So before you start doing your styling the rest of your team page, make sure that your images are in the right place. Otherwise, you're going to have some trouble. So let's go ahead and start styling Ronnie. I've already deleted the colon and the space and hit return to create a new paragraph. Okay, now that we have our characters div applied to our Ray image and information, let's apply it to Ronnie. Now I've already gone in here and I've deleted the colon, the space, hit return to make a new paragraph. I need to click in front of Ronnie and apply heading 3. And then I need to find my Ronnie name.png and insert that in the right spot. I'm going to select all the associated text in the image. I'm going to go to the Insert tab, choose Div, and then from the class dropdown, I'm going to choose Character and hit OK. When I do that, it styles it correctly, just like the Ray before. So we have a few things that we want to do. If I go into the browser window and refresh, okay, so we need to put some ruled lines around these divs so that they look a little bit more organized. And we want it to match the result, the example in the book as well. So we're going to go back into our CSS designer. We're going to choose the characters selector, and we're going to scroll down in our layout category. Let's scroll down to our border, and let's choose an all sides border. We'll type in a width of 1 pixel. Let's make the style solid, and the color we'll just leave at black, and some borders are appearing. So with this characters rule still selected, we're going to add a little bit more padding so that these images aren't bumped right up against the borders. So let's, back in our properties category, let's go to the margin, and we'll put a 10 pixel margin on the bottom and 15 pixels on the right, and we'll go down to padding and we'll apply right padding of 10 pixels. Alright, so we still have our text bumped right up against our image. So let's go to our characters image rule, and let's assign a padding to that. So let's try the right padding. Let's see what happens if we put 10 in there. Okay, that's a little much maybe. Let's try 5. Alright, so that looks okay. So let's go ahead and go to View, Design View Options, Guides. Make sure that Snap to Guides and let's see, Snap to Guides and Guide Snap to Elements are both unchecked. And go to View, choose Rulers, and Show. All right, and then we're going to drag a guideline down to the top of the text of our little name headers. And then with the characters image rule still selected, I'm going to add a little padding at the top. To bump that image down to align it with the top of the text. Okay, so that looks about right. So I want the top of the image to align with the top of the text. All right, it's time to preview. Okay, that's starting to look pretty good. So our task is to complete the rest of this team page, style all of the other characters with the same style as Ronnie and Ray.